Hello guys, welcome back. In this video, we will continue our discussion for the data types. So the agenda for today's video is we will understand what is a primitive data type and also look at various primitive data types which fall under the category of the Boolean type, various integer types, the character type, and finally understand various floating point types. So without wasting time, let's get started. In our last video, we understood what are the various data types and saw the various data type in a tree diagram, right? So now let us understand what is a primitive data type. So primitive data type are the simple form of data types in a programming, which are predefined by the programming language, right? And Java has 8 primitive data types. And final thing which we need to know about the primitive data types is that they are reserved keywords, right? For now, you can think of a keyword as words which are of special importance to a programming language and cannot be used as a identifier, right? And when we say cannot be used as an identifier, we simply mean is that they cannot be used as a name of a class, method, or the variable, right? And we will understand various keywords in further videos. But for now, let us look one by one at the various categories of the data types. Now let us understand what is a Boolean type, right? So Boolean type contains only the one data type, which is the Boolean, right? And notice that I have written this Boolean in lowercase, right? So a Boolean variable can hold only one of the two values, that is either true or false, right? And since this data is stored in the memory, it occupies some space, but the space but the space that it will occupy is not precise, right? And it can vary according to the JVM, right? And we will see Boolean in action right now. So now let us declare an initializer Boolean variable, right? And when I declare a variable, it simply means a place is memory is reserved for a particular type of data, right? And when I say initialize a variable, it means to actually store the data in a already declared variable, right? So let us declare a variable name is work done. So I'll write Boolean is work done, right? And I end with the semicolon, right? So this is nothing but the declaration of a variable, right? So what I've done is simply allocated the space for the variable, right? Is work done, right? And when I say initialize is actually storing the value, so I write equals to true, right? And so here I have actually stored the value true in the variable is work done. So this is nothing but the initialization, right? So you have understood the difference between the initialization and the declaration, right? And so this is nothing but the simple form of a Boolean variable, right? And so just print the output. So now let us try to print this variable. So I'll type system dot out dot println and print the variable is work done, right? So let us save this and run this program. So I'll hit as save and test.java. Now let us run this program. Now let us compile and run this program. So I type javac test.java. Alright, now let us execute Java primitive data types, right? And it should output true, right? So as you can see, I have successfully printed the true on the terminal. Now let us try to save other type of data in the Boolean variable, right? And the program should not compile. So instead of true, I'll type 12, right? Now let us save this and compile this program. So I've already saved this, and now let us compile and run this program. So we'll compile the program again. So we'll compile it, and yes, you can see we have the error incompatible types, right? Int cannot be converted to a Boolean, right? So you should be very cautious about the data types and the value that are saved in that data type. All right. So there are many ways of getting a Boolean value. and one of them is by comparison. So what I mean is, suppose if we have this Boolean variable and its name is 3 greater than 2. So I write this and I write 3 greater than 2 and I print this. So I write system dot out dot println and I print the variable is 3 greater than 2. So let me save this and run this. Alright. But before saving this, and let me change the value back to the true for the is work done variable. And now I save this. So now let us compile and run this. So we have successfully compiled this. Now let us run this. And as you can see, we have output of true and then again another true for the second statement. Alright. So that is it for the Boolean data type. Now let us talk about the various integer types. So the various integer types are byte, short, int and long. And we use the integer types when we want to count the value as an integer, right? And the final point which we need to know is integer types can hold the negative and the positive values. All right. So now let us look at the very first integer type, which is a byte, right? So a byte contain 8-bit signed 2's complement integer. So in simple terms, we can say a byte can be represented in 8 bits, and among those 8 bits, the leftmost bit store the information about the sign, while the rest 7 bits represent the magnitude of a number in 2's complement form. All right, and I will provide the document in the description, and if you want to go in depth and understand how actually data is presented in binary form in Java. And one more thing we need to know about byte is the values of a byte fall in the range of minus 128 to 127. All right. So now let us move on to short. Short integer type contains the 16-bit 2's complement integer. So similar to a byte, the data can be represented in 16 bits, right? And the leftmost bit store the sign information, where 0 represent the positive value and 1 represent the negative value. All right. While the rest 15 bits store the magnitude of the number in 2's complement form. All right. So that's the reason the range of short is from negative 32,768 to positive 32,767. All right. So now let us move on to int. Int contain the 32-bit signed 2's complement integer, and the value of int ranges from minus 2 to the power of 31 until 2 to the power of 31 minus 1, right? And also we need to know is, the all integer types like the byte, short, int and the long can have values written in other formats as well, like the binary, octal and the hexadecimal, right? And we will look at them in detail in later videos, right? And the final integer type is long, where it contains 64-bit signed 2's complement integer, and the value ranges from minus 2 to the power of 63 to 2 to the power of 63 minus 1, right? And so that is it from the integer types, right? So now let us write the program to demonstrate all the integer types. Now let us see our very first integer type, which is a byte. So I write byte b equals to negative 127, right? And so now let us try to print this. So we type system dot out dot println and then the variable name, which is b. Okay, so let me save this. Now let us try to compile and run this program. So let me compile this. So we have successfully compiled the program. Now let us run this. And as you can see, we have successfully displayed negative 127. All right. Now let us see what happens if we enter the value of a byte which is beyond the range, right? So we write byte b1 equals to negative 129, right? And we print this. So I just copy this and paste it, right? So let me save this and run this. And definitely if it is out of range, the program shouldn't compile. Alright, so let's see this in action. Now let us try to compile and run this program again. So I type Java C, and here you have the error, right? So as you can see, the value is out of the range and hence the program will not compile, right? Now let us work with the other integer types like the short, int and long. So the first is short. So I type short is equals to 32767, right? And for the int I write int I equals to 010. All right. And similarly for the long, I type long L equals to 321234 5, and then I append L, right? And you should note that for long, if you are writing a long number, so you should append L after a value. It can be uppercase or the lowercase, right? And so try to guess the output for each and every value. So I'll try to print this, right? So I type system dot out dot print ln, right? And so I type S for short. So let me copy this and paste it, right? So we have S for short, then I for int and L for long. So let me save this program. Now let us run that program. So let me compile this and let me execute it. So as you can see, we have 3 lines of output. The first one displays 32767, the second one displays 8, while the third one displays 321234 5. But have you noticed the second output? It displays 8, right? So the reason is, if you can see, we have written 010, and if we append 0 in front of a number, it means it acts as a octal system of representing a number. So we will look at that in the later videos. But for now, we must know that an integer type can be represented in other formats as well. All right. And one more thing which is very important is we need to append L after our long, right? So after long value, we need to append L. Now let us talk about the character type. So the character type has only one data type, which is char, and the value of char ranges from 0 to 65,535. So what it simply means is each integer hold a single character. Okay, like A is represented as 65 and B is represented as 66 and so on. So that's the reason we can perform arithmetic operations on char values. All right, so now let us look at char values program. Now let us understand the character type in Java. So we write char C equals to, and under a single quotes we write our character. So like we write A and end with a semicolon. So right now let us print this character value. So write system.out.println, and then we write C variable name. So now let us save this and run this program. Let me compile this. So I'll type Java C, and we have successfully compiled it, and then let us execute it. And as you can see, we have successfully printed A. All right. And one thing which you need to know about char is that the value should be enclosed in a single quote, right? So I use single quote, and if we use double quotes, then we will get the compilation error. So let us see this. So now I have used the double quotes, and let me save this program, right? So I've saved this program. Now let us compile and run this. So I've compiled, and as you can see, we get the error, right? Which is incompatible types, right? Char can also be represented using the integer. So we can type char C2 equals to 65. And so let me print this system.out.println, and let me print C2 variable. Okay, so I've saved this file. So now let us
run this. So I've compiled this and then I've run this. And as you can see, we have displayed a twice, which means we have successfully, converted our integer to a character type. All right.
Now let us understand floating point types. So it has two types, the float and the double. And we use them when we expect decimal numbers, right? And the value can be negative and the positive. It also includes positive and the negative infinity, and also positive and the negative zero. And the final is not a number, right? And usually it is not recommended to use floating point types when working in critical application, right? And we will see that why it is not recommended. But for now you should remember that we should use big number class when we are doing some critical calculations using floating point. All right, so now let us look at float. So a floating point contains a single precision 32-bit IEEE 754 floating point, right? So this is nothing but the representation scheme of storing floating point numbers. And the values include numerical values, which are positive and then negative. Apart from that, it has the negative and the positive infinity, negative and the positive zero, and a special value called the not a number, right? And similarly for the double, it contains double precision 64-bit IEEE 754 floating point scheme, right? And the values are a little bit higher than the float, and it also includes the infinity and the zeros apart from not a number, right?
Now let us look at float and the double. So I type float f equals to 321.2 and append f at the end of the value, right? And after this I'll print this. So I'll type system dot out dot println and the variable f, right? And similarly for the double, I type double d equals to 321.2 and end with the semicolon. And similarly like f, I print this double value. So I copy this, I paste this, and save it, right? So let me save and run this. So I've saved it. Now let me run this. Java C test dot Java. All right, I've compiled it. Now Java primitive data types. And as you can see, we have successfully printed our float and the double values. All right. Now let us see what are the other outputs of the floating point numbers. So what we will do is we'll print those numbers. So we have system dot out dot println. Then what I do is negative 0.0 divided by 1.0. The other one will be system dot out dot println. Then we have the negative 1.0, sorry, 1.0 divided by 0.0. And the third one will be system dot out dot println. Then we have this negative 0.0 divided by 0.0, right? And now we'll save this and run this. So let me hit on save. Let us compile and run this. So yes, we have successfully compiled the program. Now let us run this. And as you can see, we have the other outputs as well, which is negative 0.0, the negative infinity, and the not a number, right? So we have successfully displayed all the various possible outputs for the floating point numbers. All right. And one final thing which we need to know about floating point numbers is that for a float value, we need to append f at the end of a value. Because if we don't append a f, this number is considered as double and program will not compile. So let us see this. So I have saved the file. Now let us compile and run this. Now let us run this. So I compile this program. And as you can see, we have the compilation error, possible lossy conversion from double to float. All right. So that is it from the floating point types.
So that is it from the today's video. And please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you until next time.